Welcome to Your Inspired Journey. I am here with Taylor Martin. She is a phenomenal person to listen to in regards to many things and regarding about self, love, and really how to move and navigate in your journey of life and business. Welcome, Taylor. How are you?
So good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
It's a pleasure. It was great when we were talking about all the different things, dealing with self love and taking care about who we are as we're along this journey. What do you what I want you to be able to share a little bit about what we talked about and who you are.
I feel like we had the best introductory conversation that that was possible because it started with just like hey, how are you? And then it went into career, and then it went into life challenges and traumas and overcoming. And then we went into spirit, and it was just our conversation was so fluid and so beautiful. It was just, you know, when people are meant to be together and are matched, I feel like that is us. I am Taylor. My life's mission is to inspire and be inspired. That's been my intention for a while now. I didn't know that it would go in the direction that it did, but how could we ever know anything? I was not a self-lover. I was a self-hater. I
Hmm.
experienced a lot of traumas in my life, as you know, and from those traumas, I found myself in a deep depression. I was a binge drinker, drug user, prescription pill abuser, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of self-hatred and lots of just like digging my hole, digging my hole, digging my hole. And the whole time I just kept thinking, there's got to be something more than this. And then I would follow that thought with, but that's not for someone like me. I wasn't worthy
Hmm.
of that because I'd had so many bad experiences and I'd done so many things because I was self-medicating in so many different ways. And
So we got to stop here because you said a lot right there when you mentioned that you, instead of dealing with self love, you were dealing with self hate, and then being able to, you were medicating yourself to numb yourself because you were self hating.
yes. And when when we don't like ourselves, we don't know. We're not connected to what's going on. We just look at ourselves in the mirror and we think, and I used to do this all the time. I would just think just awful thoughts about myself. And I would
Hmm.
constantly compare myself to other people. And I didn't measure up to other people. I didn't measure up to my family. I didn't measure up to my friends. I didn't measure up to anybody. And so this narrative of I'm not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough went to my self-medication, and I never stopped and asked, why am I doing this? I just looked at it and thought, this is going to make me feel good. Because that's what we think. We're like,
And
I'm going
let
to get a
me
buzz. It feels good. A buzz feels good. But like, it doesn't
let,
feel
let me let me ask you this. But when you said that you found yourself, in that space, did anyone ever stop to say, why are you doing this?
no. I was
Huh.
judged. I was openly judged. I was like, Taylor needs to get her stuff together. Taylor Taylor needs to quit talking about I was in a very abusive relationship. I was not safe. And I told some people about it. And because I was not strong enough to leave the relationship, because I thought that's what I deserved and I was afraid to leave it, I the people that were my friends just talked about me behind my back. And I think that part of that is because I didn't know what to do. But the other part of it is that it turned into gossip. And so were those people really my friends? I don't know. Um,
So you, well, I guess if they're talking about you, they're not friends. But I used to say frenemies, but like technically they were not helping the cause. They were not helping the situation of you not
no, there
feeling
was
enough.
Right. There was no question of why. And they didn't ask me why. And I didn't know. I didn't even know to stop and ask myself why. I just thought this is the way it is. And so this is how it's going to be, which is
Hmm.
not true. It is not true. It doesn't have to be the way that it is for anything. Nothing just has to be the way that it is. Everything can be challenged. Everything can be questioned, and everything can be changed if we want it to be changed. I don't know. I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew exactly who I wanted to be in terms of how I wanted to feel. The person I've always wanted to be has always been emotional. It's like, how do I feel when I'm in my own skin? I knew exactly what I wanted that way, but because that was too good for me, I never stopped and said, why is that too good? And what am I doing that is taking steps towards that? Because at the time I could have just
Hmm.
said, oh, I'm not taking any steps. I'm going to start taking steps. Instead, I just was in that tumble.
Non-stop, yeah, non-stop tumble,
Had to
because
be.
here you were in the wandering space of seeking, let's say, that feeling, and then never stopping to ask that question. Well, not necessarily what it is that you want, because you mentioned you knew exactly what you wanted. You just didn't know how to get to that point.
Yeah, and I thought it was not. I thought that was for somebody who was better than me. And
And that was from your past experience of
yeah,
not feeling enough.
and I never, yeah, just from, and I from a very young age, and we were talking about like what parents accidentally teach children earlier. From a very young age, I was accidentally taught that I wasn't enough.
Hmm.
So, and they didn't do it on purpose. They didn't mean, they didn't know. They didn't
No,
know.
it's not intentional.
No,
Hmm.
it wasn't intentional. My parents aren't malicious. My parents have a lot of problems, but they love me. But I
Hmm.
learned from a very young age that I wasn't enough. And then I carried that through and I ran with it in every facet of my life. And it was just, I just burned
So,
myself
eh,
down.
so when did you decide that enough is enough and that I am enough?
It was very small steps. It was not like this great big awakening. It was very small choices that I didn't know were choices that were benefiting me. I quit taking
Hmm.
I quit taking prescription drugs. That was the first step. That made a huge difference. Then I got a new job, and that job was exactly the job I like. It was a wonderful job. I knew the people that in the company. I was so excited, and I was hesitant to take the job because it was $25,000 less than what I was used to making. But I had this gut feeling of just, this is going to be so good for you. Just, it's money. You'll figure out the money. You'll figure out the money. And I just like had that knowing. And so then I took a new job, and I went from working 90 plus hours a week to having a totally open, free schedule, surrounded by people who just wanted me to do well. And so I did.
Wow.
And so like,
So they believed in you.
I
They
believed in
believed in you.
these very small steps. And then one time I took a week off of drinking. And in that week off of drinking, I still did destructive behavior. And
Hmm.
and then I started seeing a therapist because I still was being destructive soberly, and that didn't make sense to me. And then after the therapist, I started reading, and then I started courses, and I started programs, and they're all just like bit by bit by bit. And then I lost everything. I lost everything. My fiance left me. I was leaving my job. I had a pretty like decent real estate career and also another job. Like I was working all the time, and I had a lot of money. I had a beautiful house. My fiance had left me, but like nothing had substance. And I knew that something was wrong. And it was just, I had that moment of, what will I think of myself in 60 years? What will I think about my life? And the answer was, you
Hmm.
will be so sad and filled with regret because all you've ever done is live from fear. And everything changed. Even though he canceled the wedding, we were still together. And so I left my fiance, we sold the house, I quit my job, I got rid of my real estate practice, and I left the US because I needed to do everything I told myself I couldn't do, and I did everything that I told myself I wasn't good enough to do. And it was.
So do you feel by making those changes and replacing them, because you mentioned about studying, learning, taking courses, how did that impact the movement for you to get to a better place of how you saw yourself?